It is exactly what you'd expect to find in a winery in a place, say, like the Napa Valley in California. A sea of bottles being filled with the latest varietals, a mountain of barrels stacked high in the barrel room, a chief winemaker with a degree from UC Davis. And yet, just 10 minutes away, there's a signpost you wouldn't expect, one declaring places like Damascus and Baghdad, not all that far away.
If you go northwards, you hit Lebanon. Syria's over that way. We have vineyards all along the Syrian border, really, from the northern Golan to the southern Golan.
Adam Montefiore has been at the Golan Heights Winery since it began, 1983, one of the few really going concerns, and this the most northern of the occupied territories, taken from Syria in the 1967 war. In the intervening 35 years, the population has grown to just under 20,000, nowhere near the growth surge seen in Israeli settlements in the West Bank, but no less exemplary of the hurdles facing any land for peace deal that is the cornerstone of most proposed Middle East peace settlements. Simply put, what happens to the winery?
For me, the question is beyond political. It's quite personal. So I've come here, I've spent 10 years of my life working very hard to build a wine region. It's one of the major investments. Last year we bought over 1,000 barrels.
Victor Schoenfeld was the chief winemaker at the Golan Heights Winery, a Californian by birth, a graduate of UC Davis. He came to the Golan to make wine, good wine, and has married here and now settled.
And what we've been working on for the past 10 years is how to grow the grapes to make better wine and how to make the wine from those grapes.
And they've apparently managed to figure out both, investing millions in research, capital expansion, and developing a list of varietals that are pressed from grapes grown by the winery: Merlot, Cabernet, Pinot, Chardonnay, an award-winning list produced to the tune of 5 million bottles a year.
Growing 15% year on year and still trying to satisfy demand. We sell all we produce. We're still trying to produce enough red wine to satisfy our customers.
Geographically removed from the fighting in the West Bank, recent shelling of the Golan from Hezbollah guerrillas in southern Lebanon has refocused attention on this starkly beautiful northern region. So much so that Schoenfeld now has to pay a war premium imposed by his barrel suppliers. And a winery once visited by 100,000 people a year sees very few visitors these days.
With our distributors who sell the wine, we have a few problems in Europe. Israel's not the most popular country in Europe at the moment.
With the United States its major overseas market, 80% of the wine produced here is sold domestically in Israel. And to date, plans call for a continued expansion of the winery and investment of capital into the volcanic soil of the Golan Heights. As for what happens when, in Israel and the Golan, it's always if.
We continue. We concentrate on making wine, let the politicians talk politics. When there's a deal, and if there's a deal, then the parameters might change and we can change our planning accordingly. But at the moment, we continue as though there is no peace process, as there isn't at the moment. And the politicians, we rely on the politicians to be inventive enough to come up with some sort of arrangement that ensures we can continue.
It's a lot of trust.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, if it's not a good peace, there won't be peace. And listen, it's far easier to make wine than it is to talk politics.
And it is never easy to make wine.